Hello everyone, it's Miranda here, and I'm going to share with you all the creations I made for the Graphic 45 2014 Design Team Call. I made it to the top 30, and I'm super excited. Being on the team this last year has been an absolute treasure, absolutely the best thing that's ever happened to me in my crafty career, if you will. It's been a dream come true. It's everything you imagine it is and more. And for me, it's not just like getting the boxes of product, which Graphic 45 is by far the most generous company. They are just super generous. But it's like the camaraderie. We're like a family on there. All the other design team members I'm just super close to. We all support each other. The family themselves and everyone that works in the office, Joanna, Kelly, they're all just amazing. So it's just been a wonderful opportunity to be a part of such a wonderful, classy, generous, amazingly talented company. So without further ado, this is what I have created. I did create all new projects for the final round. There are, at first I thought I would just show some of my past works that I feel truly represent me a little bit better maybe, but I already showed those on my blog for the first round, so of course I'll put a link to that below if anyone is interested in checking out the first round of the design team call, where I shared, I think it was like 16 of my favorite Graphic 45 projects, but I did want to create all brand new ones for this. So this is what I came up with. I did a book clutch. It's like a little purse out of botanical tea. This does have a tutorial with it. So I created 3 projects, and then I created another one to do the tutorial aspect of the design team call. And I also did a snap guide on this little canvas. Snap guide is a wonderful way to share tutorials that Graphic 45 has partnered up with. Denise Hahn and Denise Johnson, both members of the design team, have done tons of guides on there. It's an amazing way to do your tutorials. And also there's an upcycling contest on there right now for Graphic 45, so make sure you check out the blog. I'll put a link below to that so you guys can join in. So I created that, and then I created this steampunk faux cake. I used boxes, and they're all still functional minus the top one, but I wanted to mimic the look of a steampunk cake that I saw on Pinterest. I get tons of ideas from Pinterest. Last year's design team call, and of course I'll put a link to that video as well, I created a cupcake stand and cupcakes, so I guess I'm very much inspired by baking and stuff like that. And this is my By the Sea decor. It's kind of 3 projects in one, but I just kind of got carried away with it. But this is my little By the Sea decor, and I guess we will start with that first. So let me zoom in and we will get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to share with you all is how I created these little, well, I didn't create these, I altered these seashells. Of course, I live on the beach, so seashells are in abundance around here. So I have these really big ones that we have been collecting over the years, and I altered them using the By the Sea collection. Even got the little grooves in there. I did a little picture tutorial on how to do this, and I will share that below. Super easy. I use this technique a lot for covering curved surfaces or anything with ridges, and all you do is emboss the paper first before you adhere it down. So I did alter the seashells. I did a couple of different types of seashells. I used Mother Goose paper on this one because I wanted some of the music note sheet, and then some little ones. Okay, so I guess the first thing we will share is my little shadow box here, and I got this at my work. I work at Michael's, and we got a brand new collection in that matches By the Sea perfectly. Actually, all 3 of these items came from that collection at work, so it was perfect to alter them. So I got the little shadow box. It was already sectioned off into wood, so I went ahead and just used the anchor paper here to cover it, and I cut it into strips and just adhered it and distressed the edges really well. On the bottom, I used some of the chipboard elements from the By the Sea collection, the little starfish, to be my feet. It's super sturdy, so that's what I used there. For the corner pieces, I just used some of my Graphic 45 ornate metal staples. They have them in the shabby chic now, and this one is the antique metal. I love them both equally, but for this look, I went with the antique look. And then I did the same thing in the upper corner here. And then on the inside, the burlap was already there, so all I did was I used a circle cutter, and I just cut a bunch of circles out of the paper. I added a little compass in there, and I know I said I had a big project that I was going to do. It had something to do with a compass, and I will still be doing this project, so it'll just be a regular design team project for next month. But I just added some of the chipboard elements there because they were circles, and I put one in the center of the starfish there, so you can hopefully see how dimensional this is. It's really dimensional. But I kept the inside white and just plain shabby because I really liked it. On the side here, I cut one of the chipboard elements in half. I hung another seashell with some baker's twine, and I of course decoupaged this one as well. Really, really easy to do and fun. And then I just added one flower here. I have found when I use Graphic 45 paper, and I know I've said this so many times, I don't use hardly any other embellishments. If I use other flowers, that's basically going to be it, because Graphic 45 provides everything for you, and I love that about them. So that is my little shadow box. Here is my message in a bottle, and again, this blue bottle was from Michael's. If you all are interested, they have them in a couple of different colors. So it's kind of like a little treasure bottle. I put pearls and beads and buttons down there in the bottom, and then we have the message here. This is twine wrapped around the top. I cut a strip of the squid or octopus paper out, and I just punched the edges with one of my Martha Stewart punches. Added some flat back pearls all the way around. This is one of the pieces from the, it's not chipboard, it's from the banners and pockets. It's either the banners page or the pockets and tags page, I can't remember. But I just popped it up with foam dots. You can see it's dimensional there, and added another pretty blue flower. These flowers that I used are not from a company. They are just generic artificial flowers that I get at my work from the floral area. So they're not technically scrapbooking flowers, but they work wonderfully. This is a little sand dollar that I added over here. I have the seashells that I decoupaged hanging from the top of the bottle. I have some seashells that I decoupaged again. These came on there, but I went ahead and covered those with the Graphic 45 paper as well. I left this little guy plain. And that's just hanging from some clear stringing like fishing wire. So those are hanging down there. I also added some baker's twine again, and I attached, I love the metal staples. I'm such a huge fan. So you can see here the shabby chic metal staples, the coloring, how they are silver as opposed to the antique metal ones. So there's a difference there. I also added another little piece from the pockets and tags pages. There is another little compass here, and I have it barely attached with some sticky glue. That way it can come off, and this is actually what holds the message in a bottle part. So let me untie this really quickly, and we will pull the bottle out, or pull the message inside out. And you got to kind of work it out. So it was hard to get it to fit in there properly. That's why I had to leave it sticking out a little bit. But that's the bottle without the message inside. And then you just untie your little baker's twine here and open it up. I'm going to set it down and roll it out so you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay, so it just unrolls out, and what I did to get the paper to roll up really well is I wet it. I spritzed it with water, crinkled it up in my hands to get a lot of wrinkling going on there. That way it will roll easily, and it also adds to that vintage look. So on the inside I have, for your message in a bottle, I have the little pockets and tags where you can pull out. Those are the beach rolls, of course. And then down here you can write your little message to someone or whatever you want to do. And this just says make a splash. And that's just, like I said, from the pockets and tags coordinating sheet that comes with this collection. So that is my message in a bottle, and they just fit back in there and it rolls up and goes back in the bottle. So let me move that out of the way, and we will go on to the seahorse. As soon as I saw this seahorse at work, I knew I wanted to alter it, but you know, there's not much you can do. I didn't want to cover it up with paper, so I just kind of focused on the bottom of it and added a little bit up here to the top. So for the eye, I took some of the Graphic 45 by the Sea paper and just made a little baby rolled flower and added it there for the eye. Here in the center, in the belly section, I just added a chipboard tag that says make a wish on a starfish, and added two of the metal drawer pulls. These are my absolute favorite staple, and I use these so sparingly, but for this audition I did use quite a few of them because they just add such a beautiful look to all of your projects. So I added those there, and those are in the shabby chic metal look. So here on the bottom, of course, I covered the base with the Graphic 45 paper. I did some more decoupaged seashells, and this one is my favorite. I absolutely love this one. It just came out so wonderfully. The shape of this one's just great. I have another little one over here. I tried to create a seaweed effect over here, as you can see, and it was really easy to do. All I did was cut some little triangular strips of paper. I added some wire. Let me show you the wire I used. This kind of wire right here. I adhered it down the side of it, and then I let that dry, and then I just spritzed them with water and rolled them up and then glued them. And the reason I added the wire was so I could bend them however I wanted. You can bend it any direction to get your seaweed to shape the way you want it to. So I added that back there. And then up here I have a chipboard tag again and the little lighthouse, of course, in the back. I have some more rolled flowers out of the paper. Those are super easy to do. And then some more of those artificial flowers. So that is it for my seahorse. Pretty plain and simple, but I think the set together just looks absolutely adorable with the seashells. So this is going to be a gift for my mother, one of her gifts for Mother's Day. Her bathroom's decked out in sea stuff. So now we will go on to the Botanical Tea book clutch that I made, and if you'll stay tuned at the end of the video, I do have a start to finish tutorial on how I created it. Okay, so I've seen similar items on Pinterest, and I just love, love, love to alter books. It's one of my favorite things to do, but I knew I wanted to do one, and of course typography came to mind, but since this is going to be a little clutch, this is a little more practical for my style, so this is what I came up with. But altering books is super fun. I did one last year. I tried to kind of mimic some of the things I did last year for the design team call, and I had done a steampunk book, so I went ahead and did this one. So this is just a real book, and of course the pages are all glued together, but it kind of doesn't look like it. You can hear the stuff in there I have. So I used the Botanical Tea and the washi tape. I love, love, love the Graphic 45 washi tape. So for the spine, it's all washi tape. And then this is a poetry book, so I just used the Graphic 45 alphas to put that there. And then I have some of the Shabby Chic brads right there from the Staples line. I love those. So I'll use the washi tape on the spine. I didn't want to use paper because when you're opening and closing it, it bends and stuff, and I knew the washi tape would hold up. I didn't even use gel medium or anything. I just adhered the washi tape down. So I did all the edges and washi tape as well. That way the old book color, which was like a burnt orange color, didn't show through. So all of the edges have the washi tape. I kept it pretty simple because I am going to carry this from time to time. It's kind of one of those sacred objects, but I will definitely take this out one time. So I covered it with some of my favorite papers. This one's the Robin's Egg. It's so pretty. I used these resins here on the edges just to kind of give it a more shabby chic look. I just cut some strips from one of the sheets in the Botanical Tea line, added some velvet trim down the side. I wanted this to look like a bookmark was coming out of the book, so I added this string, a little chipboard piece, a tassel, and another shabby chic metal, ornate metal key. I love, love, love the staples, like I said. I can't get enough of them. I added a shabby chic ornate metal keyhole here, and the ribbon is adhered behind it. Both of these are artificial flowers from Michael's. So on the back, I just did it simple. It's going to be laying flat most of the time. I just added a little chipboard piece there, and then I use this ribbon here to adhere it, or to keep it bound together. And then it is just a little clutch. It doesn't open all the way. It's just a little clutch purse. So you can see here I have all kinds of little goodies inside of there. I put a bunch of the Botanical Tea tags and pockets and tags pieces in there. So you can see here, you could use fabric for this. Everything I saw people did fabric, but I just doubled up my paper here to make it really sturdy so it opens and closes and it's not going to break or anything. You can see my pages are glued together, but I left some of them kind of moving for just a better effect. So inside of there, hopefully you can get a good view, and the light is showing in there what it looks like. I just put some keys on one of the Graph 45 key rings from the Staples right there. And I just tucked in some little elements just to let you know that you can put things in here. I have a metal tag here with a G for Graphic 45. So that is the little clutch, you all. It will hold all your makeup, your keys, your wallet, all of that good stuff. It's very, very big in there. So that is my altered book clutch. And now I will show you my steampunk cake. Okay, and here is my steampunk cake made out of stacked boxes. I'll give you an overview really quickly so you can see. I'm going to move the camera. It's pretty big, so it's one of those objects that's pretty hard to film, but I will give you an overview really quickly, and then we'll zoom in to see all the details. And I used a combination of the typography collection and the Steampunk Spells collection. The Steampunk Spells does not have to be for Halloween. There are plenty of papers on that line that, you know, can be used for any steampunk project. It doesn't have to be Halloween. Okay, so like I said, these are still boxes. They open up. I kept the inside plain. I just dry brushed them with gesso and then added some silver leafing and some gold leafing to go ahead and give it a really metallic look in there. So these do still open. On the bottom here, I wanted to create the look of a suitcase. So I just used the typography paper, some of the Tim Holtz feet. I distressed the edges really well with black soot. Used one of the metal tag staples from Graphic 45. I love these so much. This is just a little knob piece I had in my collection. These didn't go together, but I made them. I just mix and matched my knobs. I put a Graphic 45 ornate metal brad there. I put little strips of good old sport paper. I forgot I used a little bit of good old sport on here, but it was a white script paper, or it had, you know, newsprint on it, and I inked it with vintage photo distress stain to give it that look. And then I added chain going all the way back. On the inside there, I have a little box lid, and I just covered it with the washi tape that's kind of like the typography. For my gears here, let me zoom in so you guys can get a better look at them. I cut out a ton of gears, and what I did for the gears, let me show you really quickly. I used some of my covers to my Graphic 45 paper collections because I like to recycle everything, and a couple of them I pulled off of the pad, but most of them were from pads that were empty. So what I did is I just used that plastic, or that you know, chipboard. It's thicker than paper and a little bit thinner than chipboard, I guess I should say, from the paper collections themselves. So you can see there, that's even got the writing on it. That's from Mother Goose. So that's what I used for all of my gears. And then I either covered them with washi tape, or I did metallic gold leafing or silver leafing on them. And then I used a lot of my typography stamps to stamp on the gears. So I just layered a ton of them. This one has the washi tape. This one's covered with the Steampunk Spells paper, and then you can see these metallic ones that have the stamping on it from the typography stamp set. So it goes all the way around, just layers and layers. I did use a few little chipboard gears too, and those were mostly from Imaginarium Designs. So it goes all the way around. I added little knobs, little wooden knobs for the box feet, and I just kind of wanted to elevate each one instead of just resting them right on top of each other. So that's what I did there, and I painted those with the metallic gold leafing. For this box, I didn't use really any Graphic 45 paper on it because I tried to, but when I was really painting this with mediums and adding the leafing, the paper started to kind of lift. So what I decided on is I needed a paper that was really good with mediums. So I used watercolor paper. I had a pad of it that I got for my birthday, and I just cut it into different sized strips. I have a few left over to show you what I'm talking about. It's just watercolor paper, and I just cut them into different size rectangles and squares, layered them all on top of each other. Where they overlapped, I kind of scored with my bone folder. I hope that makes sense. Let me show you another side. So like this one covered up that one, so I just scored around it so you could see the impression of the square underneath it. I used some drywall tape to give me that metallic mesh kind of look. I have a huge roll of this stuff, so I just used that. What I'm trying to mimic here is, like, you know, panel work with metal, and I have metal foil tape, but I wanted to try to do it without using that, and I actually like this effect a lot better. So once it was done, I painted it all with silver leafing liquid, and then I went over it with black soot paint and just wiped most of it off. So really the black paint just kind of got in the edges. I used some of these steampunk doilies that we got from Genius Designs. Graphic 45 does partner up with some of the most amazing companies. So I used a couple of those there. These are some little metal gear pieces, and I just added those there. Up here we have the top, and let me zoom out so hopefully we can get a better view of this. I'm going to tilt my camera up a little bit, excuse me y'all. Okay, so I used the Steampunk Spells paper to cover it up. I punched holes here and did a corset lacing, but I used black chain instead of ribbon. I thought that just gave it a more steampunk look. And I distressed the edges super well. I wanted them to look like it was just burnt pretty much. So I did that all the way around, just really distressed up the edges. This is the only one that doesn't open. I just used the bottom of a box and set it on top because I wanted the size to be really small. So that's it for there. I added a little tassel and another little Graphic 45 key. And what is holding those is just the needle. I've threaded the chain through with a needle, and when I was done, I just kind of stuck the needle back down in there and thought it added a really cool steampunk feel. So here on the top of the box, I added 2 of the drawer pulls on either side, and I took this light bulb and I used my Dremel tool, and please be really careful doing this, y'all, but I drilled through the bottom of the light bulb and I took the filament and everything out. You're going to get tiny shards of glass, so like I said, be really careful, y'all, but I think it's worth it in the end. So I hollowed out the glass and then I added a key in there, graphic 45 key, to mimic the filament. And I just used a couple of the chipboard elements to kind of get it to rise up to where I wanted. I covered the top of the metal with the washi tape. This stuff is amazing. So that is the top of my box. That is it for my steampunk cake. I will give you one more go around. This thing is very big and I love it. I love steampunk. Okay, so all I have left to share is just one little canvas, and this is the one I had the snap guide on. When I had to work yesterday, I realized I didn't have enough time to complete my big project, but I wanted to go ahead and do one more little project using typography. So this is what I came up with, and it's just a little 4x4 canvas, one of those really little ones. I covered it with the washi tape. Like I said, I love this stuff. I can't stop using it. So I covered the whole thing with washi tape, and then I used some pencils. I had a ton of pencils from years ago, just a huge box of pencils. Sometimes the kids use them when they're over here. Some of them were used, some of them weren't used yet, but I just went ahead and cut them down to size. You can cut through these with your Tim Holtz scissors, by the way. And then I just sharpen them all. I have a snap guide, like I said, that'll show you kind of the detail work I did. I did some stamping with the typography collection, although a lot of it did get covered up. You can still see some of the script and everything on the edges. I tore apart an old keyboard that I had a while back, so I used some of those keys there. Number lock, 5, of course, when you know it, I didn't have a 4, so I used F4, so 45, graphic 45. I didn't have a G either. That's just my luck, but I wanted to incorporate 45 on there somehow. So I took this from the paper line, I cut it out, and it says just my type. I added the clock handles pointing at the 4 and the 5, of course. I have another graphic 45 staple attached there with some chain going down to the bottom. I have a little typewriter cut out from the line as well. And then back here you can see another one of the metal tags from graphic 45. I love them so much. And I have a little pin nib there. Up top I just have a little and sign cut out from the paper line, more of the clock hands, and a little ornate metal brad there. This is a little Tim Holtz, a 6 charm. A design team member on the team, Olga, she is absolutely amazing, you all. She is just brilliantly talented. She had posted a sneak peek of one of her projects, and she had bent the graphic 45 keys. So I was very much inspired by that. Thank you, Olga. So I just bent a key and put it over the side there. And then I hooked this key to that one using a jump ring, and just have another ornate metal keyhole there. I just love these staples, if I haven't said that already. But yes, Olga showed us that you can bend these keys. Y'all just take a pair of pliers and bend them really slowly, and it will bend for you. I also fussy cut this little stamper out and put it back there in the background. So that is it for my project shawl, and now I will go into the tutorial of the book purse. Thank you for your consideration, Diane, Amy, Cherie, everyone that's at the Graphic 45 team. Just thank you so much for the opportunity. No matter what happens, this year was the absolute biggest blessing to me, and I will just never be able to repay them for the kindness they've shown me. Thank you so much for your consideration. Good luck to everyone who's on the top 30. If you do make the team, I promise you, you're in for just a wonderful whirlwind of a year. So I hope you guys like my projects, and without further rambling, I will go into my book clutch tutorial. Bye!